The universe had a center. Everyone agreed on that. Everyone, except one man. For centuries, humanity believed it already understood the universe. The Earth stood still at the center of everything. The sun, the moon, the planets and the stars all revolved around us in perfect, invisible spheres. This was not merely science, it was truth, it was philosophy, it was religion. To question it was to question the natural order itself. And yet, in the late 1400s, in a quiet corner of Europe, one man began to doubt what everyone else accepted without question. His name was Nicolaus Copernicus. He was not a revolutionary by nature. He did not shout in public squares or challenge authority openly. He lived most of his life in silence, studying, calculating, waiting. And yet, the idea he carried would eventually move the Earth itself. Nicolaus Copernicus was born in 1473 in the city of Torun, in what is now modern-day Poland. Europe at the time was changing. The Middle Ages were giving way to the Renaissance. Ancient texts were being rediscovered. Art, science, and philosophy were slowly awakening from centuries of tradition. Copernicus grew up surrounded by stability, education, and the expectations of a respectable life. After the death of his father, his uncle, a powerful church official, ensured he received an excellent education. Copernicus studied mathematics, medicine, law, and astronomy. He trained in Italy, the intellectual heart of Europe. But astronomy was not yet a profession. It was a branch of philosophy, and mostly a tool for astrology and calendar making. The accepted model of the universe came from the ancient Greek astronomer Ptolemy. In this system, Earth sat motionless at the center. Planets moved in complicated loops called epicycles. The model worked, mostly, but it was messy, bloated, and increasingly inaccurate. Copernicus noticed something others had ignored. The math was ugly. The heavens, believed to be divine and perfect, required endless corrections to explain what astronomers actually observed in the sky. To Copernicus, this felt wrong. Nature, he believed, should be elegant. During long nights of observation, Copernicus began asking a forbidden question. What if the problem wasn't the planets, but Earth itself? What if Earth was not the center? What if the sun was? It was a simple idea, almost embarrassingly simple. Place the sun at the center. Let Earth move like the other planets. Suddenly, the strange loops disappeared. The math became cleaner. The sky made sense. But simplicity came at a terrible price. If Earth moved, then everything humans believed about their place in the universe was wrong. The ground beneath their feet was not fixed. Heaven was not built around them. Humanity was not central. Copernicus understood this was dangerous. The Church did not officially ban alternative models, but centuries of theology were built on Earth's central role. Scripture itself seemed to support it. So Copernicus did not publish. He calculated quietly. He refined his model in private. He shared fragments only with trusted friends. Years turned into decades. Copernicus returned to Poland and lived as a church canon, an administrator, a physician, a civil servant. By day, he managed land disputes and medical care. By night, he worked on the universe. He knew his idea was revolutionary. He also knew it would not be forgiven easily. So he waited, not because he lacked courage, but because he understood the weight of what he was about to unleash. And as Copernicus aged, the question became unavoidable. If he died in silence, the universe would remain unchanged. But if he spoke, the world would never be the same. For 30 years, he hid his idea from the world. When it was finally published, it would quietly threaten everything. For more than 30 years, the idea remained hidden. Copernicus knew what he had discovered. He also knew what it meant. The Earth was not the center of the universe. It was only another planet, circling the sun. To publish this was not simply to correct astronomy, it was to rearrange reality itself. So Copernicus delayed. He told himself the world was not ready. He told himself the math needed refining. But deep down, he feared the consequences. History had taught him caution. Ideas had power, and powerful ideas often demanded a price. As Copernicus aged, his hair turned white, his health weakened, and his calculations grew more urgent. The manuscript slowly took shape, page after page of careful reasoning, diagrams, and mathematics. He titled it De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, on the revolutions of the heavenly spheres. The title alone was dangerous. Revolutions did not mean rebellion, not yet, but movement. Still, the implication was clear. The heavens were not fixed, Earth was not still, and humanity was not at the center. Copernicus did not write for the public. He wrote for mathematicians, those who could understand the numbers and judge the model on logic, not theology. But even so, he hesitated. Years passed. The book remained unpublished. Then, in 1539, a young scholar arrived at Copernicus's doorstep. His name was Georg Joachim Rheticus. Rheticus was ambitious, brilliant, and fearless, everything Copernicus was not. He listened as the old astronomer cautiously revealed his system. He studied the calculations, and immediately he understood the magnitude of what he was seeing. This was not a minor correction. This was a complete reordering of the cosmos. Rheticus urged Copernicus to publish. The world, he argued, needed this truth. Copernicus resisted. He had spent his entire life avoiding controversy. To release the book now felt like stepping into fire. But Rheticus persisted. Eventually, Copernicus agreed, reluctantly, to let the manuscript go to print. It would be published in Nuremberg, far from his home. He would not oversee the final edits. That decision would haunt the book forever. As the presses rolled, a quiet but critical change was made. An anonymous preface was added, without Copernicus's permission. It claimed that the heliocentric system was not reality, but merely a mathematical convenience, a tool for calculation, a harmless model. This disclaimer softened the blow. It was meant to protect the author, but it also diluted the truth. Copernicus never approved it. He may never even have known it existed. In 1543, the book was finally finished. Legend says that a copy was placed into Copernicus's hands on his deathbed, that he opened his eyes one last time, saw his life's work made real, and then slipped into death. Whether true or not, the symbolism remains powerful. Copernicus did not live to defend his idea. He did not argue for it. He did not witness the reaction. His voice fell silent just as the universe began to move. At first, the reaction was muted. The book was dense, mathematical, difficult to read. Most people ignored it. But a few readers understood exactly what it meant. And once the idea existed, written, printed, and circulating, it could not be contained. The Earth was no longer secure. The center was no longer certain. And the most dangerous idea in history had quietly entered the world. He did not live to see the consequences. But the moment his idea escaped, the universe was never the same. At first, the universe did not collapse. The Earth continued to spin. The sun continued to rise. Life went on as it always had. But something fundamental had changed. For the first time in human history, Earth was no longer the unquestioned center of creation. Copernicus was gone, but his idea was alive. In the decades that followed, a new generation of thinkers began to test what Copernicus had only calculated. One of them was Galileo Galilei. With a telescope pointed toward the sky, Galileo saw what Copernicus could only imagine: moons orbiting Jupiter, phases of Venus, imperfections on the surface of the Sun. The heavens were not perfect. They were physical, and they moved. Galileo publicly supported the heliocentric model, turning a quiet mathematical proposal into a visible, undeniable challenge to authority. The reaction was swift. The Church, once tolerant of speculation, now faced a direct threat, not only to Scripture, but to its role as the final interpreter of truth. In 1633, Galileo was put on trial. He was forced to recant. The message was clear. The Earth might move, but saying so came at a cost. Yet ideas are not so easily imprisoned. Across Europe, astronomers continued the work Copernicus began. Johannes Kepler refined the model, showing that planets move in ellipses, not perfect circles. Then came Isaac Newton. With the law of universal gravitation, Newton revealed the force that governed both falling apples and orbiting planets. The universe became a machine, predictable, measurable, governed by laws, and at its foundation stood Copernicus. What Copernicus truly changed was not astronomy, it was perspective. By removing Earth from the center, he removed humanity from its cosmic throne. We were no longer the focal point of creation, but part of a vast, moving system. This idea was unsettling. It still is. But it also opened the door to something greater. If Earth was not special by position, then knowledge, not place, defined importance. Truth did not depend on tradition. Reality did not bend to belief. Copernicus never sought fame. He did not witness the storm he unleashed. He did not stand trial. He did not argue in public. He simply followed the evidence. And in doing so, he shifted humanity's relationship with the universe forever. Today, we live in a cosmos filled with billions of galaxies. We send machines beyond our solar system. We search for planets around distant stars. We measure the age of the universe itself. All of it traces back to a single, dangerous question. What if Earth is not the center? Copernicus died believing he had merely improved a model. History remembers him differently, as the man who moved the Earth.